What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and to another video. We did some sketching in a recent video, and now I thought, why not take this piece to start a coloring process. So basically this is a painting process that starts out in color, and I want to do it rather rapid this time. So a lot of stuff I'm doing repeats itself and has kind of a style to it, and I want to say a method that the more you watch me doing stuff, the more you will understand that way of thinking. So let's see what we can do today in a little bit of a tighter session. What that means is I want to paint a little bit faster, talk a little bit less, if I can help myself, that is. Yeah, so let's get into it. Alright guys, we are back in Photoshop. Maybe you remember this piece and maybe you don't. If you don't, you can always go back and watch that video about making the sketch. It will be called, I guess, digital sketching something. You will find it. It's not like this channel has 100 videos by now. So anyways, this was the sketch, and for the sketch we used some ref, which was this little Adobe stock image, which, yeah, as I said before, don't concern yourself with the origin of the ref, because you're not using the ref for commercial purposes. You're just looking at it, getting ideas, and then doing something transformative by yourself. This will never fall under copyright laws of any kind. So as you can see, there's quite a huge difference between the ref and the sketch I did from it. Also, I added, of course, huge sci-fi structure to this that was not in the sketch, which is kind of the point. You want really the ref to spark your imagination, and then you'll be able to do something with that. So anyways, we had some thoughts about the perspective and some thoughts about the structure itself. So in a turned manner, I drew it from the other side just to make up my mind and see how that is probably going to play out, the shape. So it's an oval shape, means that if light is coming from the left, which I think it will, now the point, the goal is to make a side lighting. It comes somewhat from around here, and then it will light the structure maybe like so. And then down here I already made some annotations to what is a lit area and what is a shadow area. So it's kind of a little bit harder to see right now, but what I did is I made all the information on separate layers. It's like you making a sketch with some annotations, note to self style annotations, so that you don't forget what you meant. So because in case there's days between the initial sketch and you continuing to paint, that means that, yeah, you can just look up your thoughts if you noted them down. So now on this layer I will use it to formulate the lighting ideas. So the idea was that all of this is illuminated, and then it is illuminated over here. Those are shadow areas because light is rather steep, and then light will come from behind, not from the front. Ways of always formulating that into a perspective manner is, if you have your horizon, what you want to know is that the light basically comes, let's see, it comes this way, and then from the horizon, because that is the furthest point that you can possibly manifest. It will then have a direction, and somewhere that projection meets, and what that means is this represents your angle, and this represents the direction of the lighting. So if the sun was here, then this would be fine. I don't want that to be the case. I'll move the sun more outside of the frame. So I'll move the sun outside. What that means is that this point of projection will wander outside the frame. But we'll have a similar direction, because this will just be steeper. It will go off screen basically, and then the sun will be off screen as well, maybe a little bit and maybe much more, but all I need to know is the general direction. It doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be like point something degrees accurate. That does not matter at all. I just need a plan for that. So yeah, let's see. Maybe it comes from, yeah, I think that's maybe it's even more sideways. Let's see. So if you set that up, you want to make sure that, like, because you could make it super simple. You could just say, you know what, the direction is this direction, and then it just hits everything like so, and then it will just have this angle. Of course, this you need to project it up, so having this much bigger, that would mean sun is here, and then that is your same angle, and that will just follow, be the direction will be parallel to the horizon. So that would be an easy one to understand, to set up, I think. So let's I think let's go with something similar to that. Maybe not quite this. I want a steep angle, so angle should be something like this, because that's a late sun in the ref, and I want a late sun as well. And so most of that valley or environment will be in the shadow. So let's see what we can do with this general lighting idea without making it any more complicated than it is right now. So now let's lose this zoom factor. This I will delete it again, but it is somewhat what I wanted. So also what we did is a color palette, and that color palette I extracted in the end of that video about when I was doing the sketch. And what I just did is I took the most prevalent, important colors to me from the ref, and then put it on the canvas. So I said that before, this only helps for pretty much one thing, to see the color in a larger shape and in a purer form, and then see if the separation is to your liking. So that would be a sky color here, and then there would be a brightest sky color. So that's about all we need, and I think this sky is too bright for my taste anyway. So yeah, I don't need I think I don't need that bright of a sky color. So I think what I will do is I will make it more like this, but yeah, we'll see. And then you can, of course, you can categorize them if you want to, which is would be a little bit almost overkill, but you could say that all right, so these are this is basically the background, and this is the sky, and this is the foreground. That could be little categorization for you, but you know, probably know that anyways. So I prefer to keep it a little bit simpler, cleaner. And this drawing out of the palette I mostly never do. I just did this to make a point. You can take the color exactly from the photograph, but then again the problem is that the color mixing in the photograph is always complicated, so you're not sure what color you get. So you need to maybe do some trial and error color picking for that matter in order to get the right color, and then you have to judge whether it's the right color or not, or change it later. So let's forget about that ref. I have my color palette, and now that is all I need. So let's do this. Let's see. I don't want it to be so bright to the left, and I want there to be a hole that is brighter possibly. So what we do is we make it appear. And then yeah, let's see. By now you know, if you ever watched any of my other videos, that I'm advocating for doing like very rough to more detailed, and do it in a way that you develop the whole piece at once. So I need to create layers first. Wow, this was a shitty curve. You suck at drawing curves by hand? Don't worry. Doesn't need to be perfect. That might be like my quote of the year or something like that, because I keep saying this, but it's true. And every time you see stuff develop, you will immediately understand that that is true. That yeah, it didn't need to be so complicated. It works anyways. So the little shapes in here, I will bring some just to have some imagination going, that there's stuff, and then later you can develop that to a more concrete vision. So what we can do is make a difference between the structure and the environment, and maybe that's a good idea, and that would mean that I exclude everything that is not the structure from this now. Let's do that for now. Already changed my mind, because that is kind of stupid, because you want the foreground to overlap the background and not the other way around. That is idiotic. Forget I ever mentioned that. So we're making the mountain then overlap this on a separate layer. And now you still have the power to change all of what the sketch says, but you really don't have to, which is nice. You have a game plan. That's what I like to refer to the sketch as a game plan. I think it's a very accurate description if you think about it, because you don't need to show it eventually. You don't need to show it, but you need to think about it while you're doing stuff. If you can do it all in your head, that's also fine. But 99% of people cannot, because that is really difficult to do. All right, so eyes getting dry today. I don't know why. So let's see, what did I mean by that? Something like that. There is a shape language that you will develop. So there's people that like more rounded stuff or more rectangular shapes, and as you might very well be aware of, there's a lot of designers that have their shape style. They only do simple shapes, or they only do rectangular shapes, or organic shapes. So that is of course very individual. You could make a spacey structure here that is round. You can make a spacey structure that is a cube, right? That is everything goes. So as well as everything else, like the brush strokes, also the shape language is a ways of expressing yourself. Just had a little sub idea here. That happens a lot because this basically, I'm drawing the sketch again, and then maybe I come up with shapes that weren't there before, and then I say, you know what, why not have a little additional shape here and there? So that don't be afraid to just do it then. It doesn't need to reflect the sketch always and perfectly. You're meant to keep developing the vision, so to speak. Alright, then what we have here is, I'm drawing them already, those little ships. So in case you wonder, how do you come up with a small spaceship like that? And why do you make the choices that you make? The answer to that is it's not any different from doing a big structure. It's lacking detail for sure, but then again you can see that if I'm introducing big structure, I'm also doing it first without a detail, and then I'm slowly adding detail. So there's really, you don't think it's small, it's different. It's not different, it's the same. Now, for the structure, I need a color that is not obviously in the ref. And what I want is, I want a whitish building, a very bright building. Maybe some of the blue, but then again, I know that like it's a late sun color, so everything is kind of orangey. So if you see that, that is rock. It's not orange in reality, we know that, but the light makes it orange. So therefore I want something approximating that with a little bit of that tint to it. So yeah, then we make sure we're on a new layer and we just add the color. Maybe if that is too bright of a color, we first add this color. So now this is either the shadow color or is the bright color, the light color of the structure. I'm not sure yet because we cannot decide that yet. Now let's bring the mountain. So what I'm doing here that you cannot see is I'm making very small erratic movements with my hand to make that rock surface like less of a clean line and more of a scattered stroke. That way I have a nice silhouette that is not clean, and it suggests the kind of a rock surface already without doing any further work on that. So now this I can just bring it all the way, because later there will be an overlap of the foreground, of course. So now we're going from bright to dark, I guess. Wow, this looks very psychedelic. Now this is something cannot bother you right now. This will make sense once the other colors appear. Hopefully. Now, this has to be something in between. That would be shadow color, but then of course that is much brighter and it's less saturated because it's back there. Maybe it's like this. Right, in front we go. Now there's more of that foreground color stuff going on, or maybe let's stick with the rock for once. See if that will make sense, because I can see you clicking off the video and saying this looks stupid. So yeah, let's prevent that. Not exact science, remember. Thanks for nothing mailing program. And then, yeah, we were having this plan. Plus this, and then all kinds of little insertions over here. Maybe this can be shadow too, and then gets more shadowy towards that shadow side, which is the right side, remember. So then all of a sudden most of this stuff will be in the shadow. And again, lasso tool, so much lasso tool. Why? Because it's fast. I want now to have a result fast that just reflects the sketch, and then I'm getting rid of the sketch, hopefully very fast. At least that's my plan. You want little holes in there, just go for it. Or maybe we want to spam some places where stuff hits the shadow, something in the shadow, and then there's light again. But you will see that in a second. And then maybe we need, no, this is shadow. This is mostly shadow. Yeah, we'll see, but I think it's all in the shadow. And then we have another shadow pass to come. Somewhere we want a little bit more detail. And then some areas, especially off center, we can keep them a little bit simpler. This is all just imaginary stuff, of course. So yeah, shadow color, this color. Ooh, clipping mask, because we don't want to get outside of the little mountain here. Another clipping mask. Follow that one. Now expressing darker shadows, I suppose. So what was that? That was, yeah, already another tone to mix that, I see. So I was slightly wrong thinking. It's not bad, but what, yeah, I think in reality, color should be this color, and then the other color is to mix it with that, to not to be too harsh, right? So an in-between tone, basically. That yellow is pretty aggressive. We'll see if we can make it work at all. But so what you would do is you have like much more of the red stuff here that makes it less aggressive. Let's see. Only certain little things you keep them that insanely yellow. That, no, not for sure not. Then this also not. Maybe just a little bit of that here. And then towards up there, it's much more. Possibly. That is not just, I have to try this out quickly. That is reds. Clipping mask. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's much more like it, I think. Of course, we can tune all this later. We'll see about that. And then I have more shadow over here. And purpose of that shadow is to have shadow in the shadow, and then to formulate some stuff which is definitely going on down here, and of course to the front much more, I guess. The offside of whatever the light is. So that is yeah, the right side of pretty much most of the objects. And then we have to do we have to take a brush pretty soon to make some strokes manifest, and then to help out that very harsh unforgiving shapes of the lasso tool. They are just a very perfect, very sharp shapes. Right, as a new layer. So you can see that's like that is the directive for now, and we can still, of course, add stuff here and then decide that, well, this needs to be more in the shadow than it is. whether you do that with the lasso tool or without the lasso tool, makes no real difference. So you can then make little corrections around that. All right, for now, we'll continue, because I say this also a lot, is doesn't work, doesn't integrate if it's not all there yet. So therefore we need to first continue this a little bit. What we can do is now extract from this shadow kind of a shadow in between this and that, which would be here maybe, and then have a shadow tone for this structure, because yeah, it absolutely needs one, and we wanted to light this structure, and we wanted to light it like so, but this will be a soft light because it's a rounded structure, right? So I cannot just well, I could do that and then just paint it soft later, or I just keep that, give me some space to use the soft round later on. So that's, it doesn't really matter. Maybe much more like that. Then most of this is in the shade, and then there's stuff that is also in the shadow over here, of course. Most of everything is in the shadow over here, and then this is a completely, I think this will be a different tone altogether. We'll see. Maybe some stuff is not included in that. Yeah, we'll see. Most of this stuff will be included though, so it will be a fairly easy first color pass, I guess, given that I took a color that makes sense, which is this color here. It makes it look like this. Clipping mask on, like so, and we need another tone, and the other tone will be, I'm going to group this with that tone because I think that brings together the two shapes in a very coherent manner. That's what I hope, at least. Offside of this is in the shadow, and then lots of this stuff is in the shadow, I guess. Yeah, we'll have the take this also. Most of this will be, I guess, a darker metal. That would be cool, so it would almost look like it's in the shadow anyways. So let's try to dunk it all in there. That could be good. And we can bring some more different tones later to express different materials and all of that. So maybe for now, this is now passive light color. Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I can see that. Also, what is clear that this is different material, which that is good. Keep that for now. Also, little body over here needs to be darker. So yeah, there's that, and then immediately go back to the foreground. Haven't done any foreground yet. Was this an empty layer? Yeah, I guess. So there is actually no need for me to be that close. So first is we're defining a line here where the foreground really cuts over other stuff, because most likely behind a certain point there will be a sloping downhill, and then it will come up again, and then you will have a certain fall off of this. I'm not too sure about the overlapping of these two. We'll see about that in a second. So basically what we could do is we could put them all in the shadow anyways, because right. So in the ref there is no clear shadow color, because everything is greens, and then there's a darker green, which is this one. But what I know is, of course, is that it's much darker in front, it's more contrast in front, but there's no highlights in front, because I want this to be in the shadow, whether that is a cloud shadow or just like from another mountain that is in front that you cannot see and is behind the viewer. That is another question, but I want to express something like this. So as a basic layer, I'm taking either that darkness over here, making it darker, or let's see, there is like a ground color which is like that, which I'm making just even darker, and then let's see what happens with this. So this, I think, immediately makes sense to me, and now I can go and put plants and stuff on top, right? And then utilize these tones, and then we can say bye bye ref, because we don't need it anymore. I like the way this tree is penetrating into the lit area. That's always nice to convey some depth, and that is not just that is a real natural environment that has a like overlapping influence onto each other. Also, this is kind of these trees function like a contrast enhancer, since if they go out of the dark area into the bright area, that means they will create a lot of contrast here. So all of these, I'm going to have to use a brush later on, make these even better, and by better I mostly mean less hard of a perfect line, perfect outline. Of course, there is also a stylistic choice. You could very well do that, and I like that style, but I want it not to be too much of very clean stroke. So a little bit more erratic, a little bit more texturized breaking up of some of these. So yeah, we'll see what we'll do with that in a second. Other trees now, these are pretty close still. So these are within like 50 meters or so of each other, I would say. That is a good thing to think about, because else contrast would fall off a lot, and then that you should express that tonally. So now, first, I think tree had the darkest tone. Yeah, definitely. So some of the darkest tones in the green, and then some greens also. Mostly brighter greens I'll use for the bushes, darker greens use more for the tree, I guess. Yeah, I made a mistake here. Did not want to put those trees on the same layer, obviously. So vegetation is something that sometimes is worth to keep it separate, because then I can make an entire clipping mask for those, and then in that clipping mask now I can just do some highlighting of those trees, which that would be nice. Let's see very quick how this looks, how this could look without going too far. I need to see the other tone manifest, and then I'll judge it and say, okay, that's good, or no, that's not what I wanted. But since that is a separate layer, then again, what that means is that I really have a lot of power. I have all the possibilities to change that. I'll show you in a second. So slit from here maybe, and that is passively lit, just a little bit more light on the left side than on the right, so it's more bright over here than it gets over here on the horizon, but it's not direct light, therefore it's not a huge contrast situation. So I'll hide the layer. Let's see what's going on. I even have to hide now the sketch for you to see what's really happening here. There's another green next to the dark, and I will keep it for now. Also looks pretty okay without the sketch. That's also a good thing to check. And then we can also make the sketch less intense to further render the environment. So then I will just go with what I know about the environment to be true, and that is like this pathway. It was a brighter tone than all the rest. So there was that. And then sometimes you don't see it because it's obstructed by something, and then you'll see it again later, and then it might be less and less that you see it. Right, so could be just like that. Make some little irritations over here to make it appear like a rendered dirt track, hopefully. I have the color for it here. So the color, now we can make this clipping mask or not, doesn't matter. I'll talk about this in a second. This is too bright. But well, it is a separate layer, so it's really easy to mitigate that. Also, I didn't like the saturation on there, so that looks lit, but it's not. It should be a passive light color, much more like this. So that is good. Next, clipping mask. So what we're doing here is every entity here, like the trees, like the foreground, like the midground, like the background, it gets a base layer and then it gets clipping masks to further colorize that same layer, right? And then at one point we ditch all of that and we just continue painting. So where were we? In the foreground. We need stuff. We have this and then we have another thing, and that other thing now is going to be rocks. Let's get a little zoom here. A little bit of rock formations, rounded rocks, as you can see. We'll see how good of an idea that is in a second. And then maybe what we have to do is we have to go move further and further away from a single tones, because now it's technically it's not really correct that the pathway has the same color in front and then back there. It needs to lose contrast, as you know. It's the rule of atmospheric perspective, so we have to account for that at one point. But in the beginning, it's much more important that you hit about the right tone than it is to just have a perfect atmospheric perspective. We'll can introduce that once it is much more relevant. So everything you need to have an order of importance to those things, and the small things you can be postponed much more than like the important thing. So if the color composition of this is not right later on, I have to check this pretty early, because that next thing we're doing after the foreground has appeared, and by appeared I mean all the tone separations that I want. We'll go back to the sky and the background again and make that better, and then we go back and forth to make stuff better. And the question you always want to ask yourself is, what is the next thing that absolutely needs to right now get better, and then go and do it. So that is how that is a decision-making process that you need to learn, and sometimes I struggle with this. And when I struggle with this, I try to zoom out, or I say I have different methods. I say, what do I need? What is good? What do I not need at all? What can I delete right now? Not miss anything. So there's a hierarchy of questions that you can ask yourself for those cases. Right. So let's see. We need rocks. Rocks have no color in the ref. I don't care anymore. This is, I want this to be something like this. Where is the in-between of that tone? You might say, oh, it jumps from here to here, but actually don't forget that this is connected in the bottom. So actually this jumps up to here. It's much more what happens. So we'll bring it down. Have a nice little shadow color over here for those rocks. Hide it. Want to question that, not as shadow color clearly, because if there is something that is like brighter, that we'll have to bring that up later on those rocks. So a second tone, that is basically. I can check that. I can say, yeah, so that I don't want. Rock is much more light reflective than the undergrowth here, so the rock needs to be brighter on this brightest than those undergrowth areas, shadow areas. So needs to be something like that. Saturate we can, but you see how the cooler color of the shadow matches this much better. Here we have the warmth because that's where the sun hits, and then we have to do some restraint. That could be also good. So bring this more together with that tone. So I like that. Keep it, and then continue. Next, I'm making these clipping masks. Technically, none of these rocks are outside of the area they refers to, so they don't need to be clipping masks, but it can help to make them clipping masks anyway to keep a layer order in place. So now we need some bushes. How you draw bushes is up to you. Show you a neat little trick in a second. Also, because you can make custom shapes from bushes. If you don't know what custom shapes are, I will make a video shortly about custom shapes. What it means is to save a selection as a shape that you can then just spam, increase, decrease in size, and just reproduce that shape very easily. It's very good if you need, let's say you drew a very nice complicated tree like this, and then you just want to use it somewhere else. Now that's the perfect reason to make a custom shape from this tree. I of course have some custom shapes and I use them sometimes. And the beauty about custom shapes is that you can use them without having any conscious issues, conscience issues that I wanted to say, because you drew them. If it's stuff that you drew, you have every right to reuse that stuff. So let me quickly do this and then give you an example. I want to do about the shapes that I was thinking about when I was doing the sketch. So that is the only thing now that has to be there. Lots of bushes. Those were not meant to be bushes. I think that was the shadow line here. So just some over here. And then yeah, we'll see. I think those were bushes, and yeah, in fact a lot of bushes here, probably more than I was sketching, because ground cannot just be empty, right? So we need to cover it with something. Those round bushes, yeah, I really think it's a good idea. I like them. So now what we can also do is, since the rocks were sketched in a way that they don't really get obstructed, so we can just put the color of those bushes behind the rocks. I think that will work. And sometimes it's the question, what is behind what? Order-wise, if it's in the same vicinity, right? It's both in front, within a meter, so what's in front? And the answer to that is the thing that overlaps more complicated is in front, because that saves you time. Mostly that's the answer, I would say. How about this is all overgrowth? So I'm adding shapes to this. Those are the trees. I just thought maybe I'd do them in the same color and then as all those bushes, and then I just shift colors slightly towards the back. So what that means is I'm getting more I'm getting how do you say that, less consistent with my use of layers, and B, I'm grouping stuff that does not contextually belong in the same group, but that is not important, because as I also say a lot, it's not an editor we're painting here. That is just the things I do them because it's the fastest, most fun, stylistically sound process to just bring what I want as quickly as possible, and then I deviate from that. So could you draw a whole image like that? Yes, but that's not fun. I'm not doing this. I have fun with this because that's big decisions, and it's truly is. I like that, but I would not like to zoom in and do the details with a lasso. That would not be a thing that I enjoy, and it would also not be a thing. Well, you could make it look good, but you would then probably need a lot of time. And I'm not saying that you should not need a lot of time for things, because great art is allowed to take a lot of time. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that for me, it's always that's it needs to be both. It needs to be fun and it needs to manifest. If I take 100 hours, I lose motivation. I lose the drive to finish the work. So then I need my own. Everybody needs their own time management versus fun versus what you get out of it versus quality of the artwork. So there's always those things to consider. So don't, whatever I teach you here or whatever you see me doing, feel free to take it or leave it, right? You can make up your mind. If you want to make things work though, like I do, there is a big chance that the process that I do is best for that, because I thought about this a lot and I try this a lot. So but there's also a chance that there's another artist which takes some of the stuff I do and then some completely removed stuff and makes it work, and it's great and it's the best for you. So you adapt that. You always adapt what is best for you. The only problem is sometimes you don't know what's best for you, especially if you're a beginner, and that is why a beginner needs a tutorial or some instruction. Now, the greens, not so bad, not so bad. Well, now this I can lock it, and then we can really vary that. I said I want some brighter greens to appear as highlights, like so. Let's first see if that is a good highlight, and it's not, because the ground is too bright. So either that ground needs to get darker, and it needs to get darker in front, or yeah, the other color needs to get brighter. So highlight color, a little bit too low. That would be better. So we do that over here, for example. Don't need highlight everywhere. This is a part that is in the shadows. Don't be so slow. A little bit of highlights, it's all I want. Maybe just like that. I have to remind myself of the custom shape thing. So yeah, that's somewhat. The rest I can also draw it in. Of course, we can lock that layer, and then also we can also do is make it darker where we want it darker. Oh yeah. I was I was painting these trees, remember? I was including them in the selection. Now they don't show up, and the reason why they don't show up is because this layer is a clipping mask. Watch over there. See how they emerge. So now that, we'll leave that not being a clipping mask for that purpose. So also what I want to do is I want to make this darker back there. So now let's take a little bit of that approach. Make stuff darker, and let's leave a body of green to those bushes, and then have a foundation that just gets darker over here. And I need more darkness in the corner here for sure. So let's see how this looks in a second. You see me sweating, by the way. That's because it's hot in this room. I think it's 30 something degrees Celsius out there. All right, so yeah, need some darkness to that, but yeah, same for the rock. It would be the opposite, I guess. You would see where are the rocks lit a little bit and not lit very much. Just to remind you, it's just passive lighting. It's important that the rock is not lit everywhere, because there's stuff that it breaks in the surface, and then you can express those cracks. Also, you can express the overlapping of rocks here by carefully selecting the illuminated areas. And then some stuff will not be illuminated. It will just remain in the shadows a little bit more. Don't have to be super do the same thing everywhere. It's not necessary. See how it looks in a second. Now we take this passive light color. Rock is like this, so therefore this will do fine. Right, something like that will do fine. And then we can, of course, change it, make this less pronounced. I think that's a good idea. And then, so now, what bothered me is this back there. So I want a light area of this, and then that should be a shadow tone. Where is it? Here. That's actually wrong because it's behind this. So in that logic, that it should be really behind. Then I will just mix this soft with a layer lock. And then I want an illuminated area on this. An illuminated area, it should be here. It should be here. There is trees. That means it's broken up. Broken up. And then there's an area where it gets more complicated. And then there is another area where it's much more flat. And then We need to have a look. We need something, if that works out or not. Right, now same logic. This less saturated, less contrast in the back than in front. So new layer over here, something like this. I could do it with a hard round. This is not good. No, this is much more. It needs to be the same tone. Yeah, close to the same tone, I think. Now I can't have the sketch to judge this. So this needs to look good like this, and then it's also a matter of how the sky looks, and that is also a matter of how this foreground tone looks. So what we have to do is now I want to make this less the same, and I mean pretty much all of it. So I think we do not need, yeah, the color palette can just give this a name that we know what it is, and then the rest up there is doesn't matter anymore. Is the sky good? There was a brighter spot in here with the sky. It was a brighter blue here. For in between, that would be maybe good. But already you can see again that we distance ourselves more and more from that source of inspiration. I don't like the resemblance of that shape of the object. That is unfortunate. That I don't want it to happen. And then we'll just see. What happens if we put a brighter tone in between. I select this. So did not really want to select this. What I mean is that this is not good. All right, so it's better, yeah. Now what needs to happen is that this needs to really it's very stylized that way, and there's something to be said for that, but at one point we want to break that up, that logic. So the thing maybe I want to do is check the structure for a little bit, and then get back. Then we get rid of those harsh tones, start blending a little bit, and then we paint over the thing. So yes, first things first. This structure is kind of important. We had some nice ideas. Those ideas are now mostly lost on there, which means I need a brighter tone that needs to manifest these details. So this let's say we paint them. So what I mean is it's way too small. somewhere this needs to be. This needs to take shape here. Not only that, but also other passive stuff, passively lit stuff. So just for there to be a little bit of detail. Yeah, that would be pretty okay. So there's tricks that you can do. You can combine stuff, of course, later. But you see, now there's something going on in terms of that detail. But then again, we need to really solve some of that by painting. It's faster and more intuitive. So the only thing that was in the sketch that is not here is our little dude, our person over here. So let's bring that guy or girl, we don't know. Yeah, separate layer for this. Do this in front of everything because there's really nothing holding us back. Maybe some clothes that are affected by the wind. Now it needs to be dark for starters, and then we'll see later. What did I paint? Small little figure. So yeah, it doesn't need to be extremely detailed for now. We'll see if we keep it or not. So now reduce this, get rid of P, and then hit save once. Now we'll break this. What I mean by that is I want now to have a real atmosphere going on that is more than just that those suggested shapes. So something needs to get brighter, and then in between maybe we're blending with more color. see how you get banding here? That's because the tones are too perfect. It's not a good idea to have your tones being too perfect. And then that was brighter. Well, it's good that it's not too bright, I suppose. So do some shocking moves here, merge stuff, and then take a rather giant tool. What is happening here? We sample too many layers? No. Well, I thought this would work without me zooming in. And sometimes it will not give you exactly what you want unless you do zoom in. Yeah, I want to keep this a little bit. It's very interesting how we're sometimes pedantic about some things to keep it at all cost. A little detail that we like, and then on other parts of the image we're just like, oh yeah, F this, I'm not going to try to save that. And then what you can of course do is mix color and see, make all of these lists the same, have a blending going on. I just want to not have a perfect sky, like a perfectly calm sky. I want there to be something going on. Why not like this? Yeah. Just not be the same everywhere. It's already, I feel, good enough. And of course for this, smudging is good, but that does not mean that you need to smudge your way to the sky. That's just, I don't always do this. It's not like that is my, I do this depending on what I want to achieve, pretty much. I like this part. That's really cool. Oh, this gets too much already. We'll see about that. And now macro perspective again, a little bit more zoomed out. This does not look as good as I wanted it to look. Maybe some of that in here could be good. Maybe all of this is a little bit too much. Right, so let's move on for now. We have the power to always go back and change that, some of that stuff. of course. Stuff back there, yeah, let's keep it for now. Maybe have this mountain be a little bit darker. Next up is that yellow. It needs to happen something with that yellow, I feel. Else would be just too much of the same. So where is my little brush? One is, well, need to lock the layer. One is it's too much the same. And number two is it's too saturated everywhere. There needs to be places where it's not that bright. And then what you get here is something like an in-between of tones that is kind of what I'm looking for. Less harsh rendering of tones. And then the same could be done just for the other shadow passes, right? So maybe let's now, at one point we have to combine these. I have to think if when is the right time to combine them, basically. As long as I can still get make it better without doing that, that's maybe a good thing to do. But on the other hand, maybe it's also good to blend first. So there's always that questions that you can ask yourself. So I'm thinking right now, the dark part needs to get a little bit darker in front, especially. So making that darker a little bit, and then getting rid of the sketch. And see now, some stuff you need to also draw without the sketch, else it will be too hard to judge that. So we could draw a lot in here now. But I want to see what's really necessary and what is not. So now this is starting to hinder me a little bit. So I'm slowly looking to combine things here. Maybe you even combine with the structure eventually. But for now, yeah, I think we will combine with the structure. And where is it? So let's, before we do that, let's do something over here that is crucial, and it's the only maybe thing. I mean, there is some details that are only in the sketch, but that's not such a problem. Um, but I want to do that gradient blend. So to have that structure around. No, it's not what I need. I think what we need is a selection in which we can blend. It will look somewhat like this. You can hide it and then just go crazy on the thing. Now, yeah, I need it to be round, but sometimes we miscalculate the diameter of these things. So it's not actually that insanely much of a gradient fall off that you would think. And then also, yeah, have to look at a small version to see if it's good. What you're getting is good. Yeah, and this kind of now starts to work out. So I released now that that selection. Use this thing. I'm only want to do it once, and then I don't want to have to bother with it again. Then maybe this is coming in two, in a way, like so, right? Looks good over here. So yeah, let's keep it for now. Because the rest is not so complicated to do. So now I'm going on a merge spree, merging all of those, merging these two, maybe not yet. And then next thing is I absolutely want to get rid of that sketch, and I think it's about time. It's about time. The only thing holding me back, and maybe that's the first thing to do, is adding those details on the structure that are not completely there yet. So I have now color. I will only pick this color, and I will do old school. I will only do one layer to experiment with the tones, and then to just paint more and more. So I'm making the sketch less visible, and then I need freedom to just pick and choose colors directly and keep working with those colors. Now that's not good, because I was drawing on the sketch. I was just asking myself, why is this color not coming out the way I expect it, and then immediately there is a mistake. So no, we want to be on this layer. Now let's do that again and see how that is different. So that is much more of what I expected to happen. So and now I can just take tones that I think are appropriate and mix them in here. And then later this will be maybe the ultimate shadow tone for in here. if we need it. Now the advantage is, and you already noticed if you've seen some of my tutorial, is that now I can really continue to paint wherever I feel. I'm on a separate layer. The only thing, I cannot go outside of the area right now because it's still a clipping mask, but that is very easy to change in a second. Just release new layer and then we can continue painting. So that's a lot of what I want to do. Concerns that in a very major way, because now it's about being intuitive. I want to just go in there and make decisions very fast and have them manifest. And then if I think that this structure needs a different render of sorts, maybe this is the same here. I'm sorry, gray tone, you have to go. So yeah, I think so. I think that is the answer to that. The inside is different material. Right. So now I can switch back and just use the same color. That way I am expanding the area that the clipping mask is referring to, and then I can just continue painting on that layer later on. That might be too dark. Where is that coming from? Not darker than this, let's say that. And then we want some little details to appear. And once they do, we immediately can go somewhere else and concern ourselves with something else. Like going to this layer, just bringing those trees. Now we're painting this for a second. And there's really, here there is a lot. Because that is the area where people will look, like a contrasty area. So I need this to work and to be interesting. And now we're doing a shadow and light. Pretty much, yeah. Taking turns in doing rendering that. Where it works, you will now I need to not see that for a second. It's a clipping mask. Can't forget that. And now there's, yeah, we have a ways of mixing those tones. That is just, the brush is not, has pressure to it now. So you have a lot of dimly lit areas over here. You gets more and more, gets more samey, and that way it's a nice fall off of these details. I don't want to disturb every major area where there's shadow, because if I do this too much, it will just not look very good. It will be composition wise, it will not be very interesting. So I want to just bring the shadows and semi-shadows to a level where it is satisfying. Sometimes, of course, there needs to be an interference between dark parts and the bright parts. So sometimes they need to be next to each other, or going to each other, because there's a shadow, there's slopes with the shadow corner or with an edge to them, and then those of course need to introduce a shadow. So that is not that you can is a little task that you can do forever, as you might have guessed. So I would say you have to be careful here not to get lost. So whatever areas that you like, you think, oh, this is really nice, I would advise you to try to not destroy them, because what turned out nice, you want to keep that. Again, this is not editor work, it is painting, and sometimes you just need things to work, to look nice, to make sense. Forget the making sense part. Overall, it needs to make sense, but then you can, if something looks nice and sense can be interpreted into that, and you can justify keeping it, then I would keep it. So that's a way of looking at things. When do I keep certain details? Do I always need to know that it makes perfect sense? I think the answer is not always. And you will learn to find maybe explanations for yourself, and that is important, because maybe here's a light and then you're like, oh, that's impossible. But if you think about it a little bit more, you will maybe come to the conclusion that, yeah, maybe there is a light, just an artificial light source. Maybe there's a lamp and I didn't think of that, and it could be might as well be the case. So then you come up with some explanations and new content, because you will then put a lamp there and then be happy with yourself that you thought of that, and that you're a genius or something like that. At least sometimes that's what happens, I think. So when are we done with this? I don't know yet. But it's getting there. What you could do also is no. What was that? I wanted that. That was good. Trying some stuff in a rougher fashion. And then you have your result more quickly. Of course, there is a bigger gamble. You can't just make a stroke. See, is that a good stroke? And most likely it's not. But eventually you get some strokes that are good and a little bit erratic, I want to say. So there's a possibility of things working out like that. Yeah. A little bit of reds over here. Passive lighting could be good. Maybe this breaks. Yeah, we'll see. Did right, so we need to jump away from this, I think. What did we do? We did do something on here. Yeah, this, I can still influence the yellow. Don't get me wrong, I like some of the yellow, but I don't know if I like all of it that much. Because there is something as too much yellow, clearly. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, the small image looks okay. Do another clipping mask. And then do some blending. And this is for atmospheric perspective now, because I want it to be less the same back there. In front, do clipping mask overlay once, bring contrast here. Yeah, that's okay. I'll take that. Now we have the structure. Sky. Sky is not done, I feel. It looks kind of cool, but if you watch the small frame, like this is kind of wavy stuff, and the way it connects is kind of disturbing. The rest, yeah. Also, I want to see quickly if that sky color could make more sense. Well, no. There needs to see. You might think, oh yeah, this is integrates more, and you would be right. But the whole thing about this is to have a color contrast. So I will not deviate from this too much. However, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'll keep it. Okay, so now what you can also do is delete that, and then duplicate your sky, and then just go crazy on your sky, because why not? I want some smudging here. I want to have something like a manual blending of sorts. Looks like almost like a wave. Not what I wanted, not what I was looking for, really. Duplicating sky is fine, but then maybe let's do this bigger. Maybe that's not, there's no solution with this tool, at least not for me. And that's where you can erasing. Okay, that's not good. We make it more the same again. And then maybe do smaller shapes like this. That better or not? Yeah, I think it's better. Make that less pronounced. Well, so foreground, there's something here that I need to tackle in a second. And that is the ground. The ground is too even for my taste. So do a little zoomed out painting. What was that? That was nothing. Okay, that's good. And then that, yeah, those are stuff on top. Stuff on top, stuff on top, that's fine. Can work with that. But the ground itself is it's a little bit too boring. So what we do about that is I need that to be a shadow pass, because this is as bright as it gets in the dark, I feel. So I need something, some sort of either rocks or cracks or just a texture. So it could be just the case that I have something like this. Going on, and then I do it less obviously back there. And then there was a plan of having illumination over here, right? Like so, maybe. It's not too bad. I think so. And you can use different brushes for that. I have a brush that does just cracks in the that look like it's breaking up rock stuff. That could be good. Needs to look good small, remember that. And then, yeah, there's a lit area that will fall off here for some reason. We don't need to specify that reason. Can have shadow where there's more rocks, more passive shadows. Now, of course, we later can have much more more dark plant stuff. Yeah, so this is not too bad. Maybe, yeah, give me that other direction like that. Okay. See how this looks less the same. You can say less boring too. But also there's then now a time where we need to combine some of that stuff. Those rocks look a little bit too bright almost. Let's put them through here. Yeah, that is better. I feel so. Yeah. Okay. At one point, we also need to combine that kind of with the exception of maybe those trees. Those trees we can combine them in themselves, and then maybe we combine all the plants like so. So we have a very simple plant path, and then we can still paint underneath it, which is, I think it's a good thing to have. So let's merge this. So, and then we're back on very few layers already. Now we can do some work on the ground. So, for example, I really need those rocks to be rendered a little bit, but also not that much. So it needs to be believable, but and you can't spend just hours and hours to just paint a few rocks. So let's see, giving them little shadows, and then I feel that we give them a little bit some more plants in a second in front here that really silhouette the scene a lot more than it does right now. I think that's might be necessary even. And whenever there is a tree, I give it a little ground shadow now. Right, and so, but it is passive, so don't need to express every little thing here. And then possibly at one point that vegetation here needs just a little bit of touch up. Some of the stuff I leave it, even though it's maybe highly stylized. That's okay. It's okay for me. And then every time there is something I really like, I will not bother too much with it, because it's good accidents, and you should not destroy some of the good accidents. What did Bob Ross call them? The happy accidents, right? So don't destroy that stuff. For example, this tree looks amazing. I'm not touching it anymore. And that is not because I'm amazing, that is because that's how it came out. That's just a nice little accident. I was doing this way too fast, as you could see, to really have planned that, right? That's we all know I didn't plan for that to be amazing. That's just what happened. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. A lot of stuff happens like that. Now, what else? Give me a bright color. So sometimes there's nice tone groupings here, and you can see. Well, this is this is a little bit too much. It's not working. But with I don't want to say ease, but this area is a good example. You can really improve that with being rough, as just because it makes sense with the environment now that it really starts to work, and you don't need to go through all that much trouble. So I was almost starting to paint the ground on basically what is the wrong layer to do that, which shows me that I'm really just I really want to do that. So we will give into that just in a second. The only thing that I want to do quickly is give this a little bit of a highlighting here. So see what happens if this gets even some brighter strokes. And yeah, we have to be careful with that, because as I said before, this is a passively lit area, and a little bit is good. but we don't want this too much. I don't want all those trees to be lit like that. It's just good sometimes when it's like here, when it's in the shadow, then it really makes sense. So if it contrasts again the background, I should say, then it makes a little bit of more sense to do it. But we don't do it everywhere, and we don't overdo it. That's the important part. So now this looks good over here. I have this little locked, which is sometimes good and sometimes not such a good idea. And then need to make sure this silhouettes nicely, because over there it's important. You will read the shape much more than somewhere else, than down here, for example. So yeah, make sure that those look good, and then I think that will be fine. Okay, now what we're doing is we're either combining these, or this will just, yeah, I think we're combining these. Doesn't matter, it's a nature. So the thing that is lacking is here, because this was supposed to be a road, a path, and then it was supposed to be lit a little bit. That means we need to ground that stuff just a little bit more, and then maybe it's also even more lit until a certain fall of distance, or not fall of distance, but where there is a shadow that we're just deciding to be there, to start at one point, basically. So giving this the illusion of having more detail in front here, and then here in the back it doesn't matter too much. We can just let it fall off, and even make it much less pronounced. So all of that too. There's light. We want a little bit of a shadow, of a more direct shadow, I should say. Maybe we cut through that material. Not material, I mean, you know what I mean, the ground. And maybe yeah, that could happen once or twice, but that's just all a little bit trial and error. I'm not pulling up ref now, mind you. I could be looking at ref for all of that. That would then mean that it takes 5 times as long, because if you're drawing with a ref, that much detail, yeah, that takes a while. So again, I'm not spamming detail everywhere. I just want for that stuff to dissolve the level of detail in a way that it makes sense, and that it's not looking like there's too much missing, right? So I was saying earlier that maybe we still need a little bit of stuff in the foreground, especially in terms of that vegetation, because that's now looks a little bit too less contrast. So we'll try that in a second. No, that's not good. That was the ground here, and then ground dissolves somewhere into the shadow. Right. And I could blend with this tone, make it a little bit even more the same back there. Way that could work is of course with clipping mask. Let's see if I was to do that. Right, this is what happens, but it could happen a little bit. This is only here, so to sell that, yeah, why not? You like it, you keep it. No, that's my motto. And yeah, I think just we're almost done here in the foreground. I think I will get rid of the character. The character is shadow and shadow. It's really not helping anything. And I think the road is enough to convey something like a path, and that's interesting enough because you really want to look there, and I think that will work nonetheless. Now irritating that road a little bit more. I need to feel a little bit more natural, like there was stuff going on and little stones and just what you would expect, right? I struggle in the left corner because I have to put my hand around the mic. Something that you're totally not concerned with at all, but I just feel like sharing this with you. I will find a solution for that so I can paint better on that side. Right, so what you need for more overgrowth is just a layer, and then there is something called custom shapes. I told you before, and then you have custom shapes. In my case, it's mostly complicated shapes that I at one point drew them myself, and now I can pull them up and use them. For example, this little, what would you call it? Desert plant, or so it will give you a shape, and then that shape you can use it, and it's very good to silhouette stuff. What you can also do is do that shape again, and then do it smaller or wider, and then you can basically transform it. You can flip it so that it doesn't look the same, and you can of course copy it, and you can do all sorts of stuff with that. What I want is I want to use this to silhouette here. That's all I want. I don't want to really spam this everywhere, and you should never do that, in my opinion, because this is just to save a little bit of time here. It's not really to make anything. And yeah, I drew this once, and then right, I could draw it again and it would be different, but would it be different enough to justify the extra time? So there is that for you, custom shapes. And just like that, we made a little difference, and now I can draw, of course, behind that, and also on that with a lock and give that some highlights here. And now it's really hard to distinguish, and in a moment this will melt with the rest of the painting, and then you cannot tell anymore. And also you can delete from it, of course, if you don't like certain stuff. You can delete, make it more unique that way. Example, have it like this over here, and you can also add to it, of course, and combine where you think that makes sense. So for me, this is here, where there's lots of stuff that is similar to that, but not quite as expressed. So I will just bring this on the same level and give the illusion of them merging, basically. Already I'm drawing on this layer, and I don't care because we're past that point. So this also gave me a new, kind of a new little language, the way those twigs work here. And then you can try to apply this in other places as well, and see what happens. So yeah, do highlighted versions of these. And mix and match them, of course. And there will be then, this again, you have to practice it. It's easier said than done, because you just spam these custom shapes, it will not look good. You need to express it in your way, and then find something that works for you. So which is why I would very strongly recommend you to create your own custom shapes. You don't just take them from somewhere, because they will be in a style that is not your style, and then it will not integrate, and then it will be immediately apparent that you took something that is not your own. And not that there's anything wrong with it, you're free to do that, but I'm guessing that it's not what you want. I'm guessing that you want to create your own stuff. So there's just, again, that little thing to consider always. Right, so don't get lost in the detail. I hear telling myself at this point. Stuff is happening to the ground, and then at one point not so much back there, that is fine. And then what is clearly a cut in the in the environment, maybe not do that. And you can always add little details, just don't overdo it. You need to find a way to stop, and there needs to be a time when you stop, and for that you need a strategy of your own, because else you will just continue forever. And I can kind of understand it, because it's really fun now. But yeah, there needs to be an end to that. And of course, I'm not talking about the time I drew on this, because that's not a lot of time. Of course, you're watching and you think, well, it has been 2 hours, hasn't it? Yeah, but it's 2 hours for this. Okay, so you can easily spend 10 hours, 12, 20 hours, 30 hours on a piece like this. It's absolutely no problem. It's so easy to do. And at one point I have to call it quits for the sake of this little demo, right? So, and that is very soon, I suppose, but we'll do 1-2 things more, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, so structure, yeah, could be a little bit still a little bit better. And then something that is now missing, gone missing, where are you, is this. That is cool. This, right? And then in the back here we need to do something about that, because that looks good in itself, but it's not exactly how I want it to look in terms of finesse, because now this has only hard shapes going on, and that was not the deal when I first started. So what I want is I want to smudge this stuff up a little bit. Easiest way of breaking this, it immediately looks much more refined and much more interesting if you break some of that perfection. And then of course you can go in and paint some on this, which I will do in a second. You will see how that turns out. And then but see, that's all we needed here pretty much. So now dark stuff, releasing the lock. I can add more stuff here, right? Don't make it all the same. I cannot erase now because I'm on the layer and I can only counter paint. No. Maybe yes. No, I took from the tree. So there's that. Stuff happens. Some of the decisions I cannot explain to you. It's a feeling. That does not mean though that you cannot learn anything from that, because watching others you can develop that feeling for yourself, and then maybe someday you'll be able to do something similar in your own style, and that would be good, because that is really what you want. You don't want to just emulate people. At least that's what I feel. It's much better if you can have your own style going on, and then do something similar that is exciting, and you will feel that you own it and it's yours, right? Okay, let's go to the structure. I only have 1-2 things that I want from this. I want some lights, some AL, some artificial lights, right? Some ALs done not by AI but by HI. If you think at all that I have any. So yeah, oh man, this is getting a little bit far here and a little bit late here, so jokes getting lamer. You know why. Could have some light here. Don't ask why just now. We'll see about it in a moment. And then maybe there's light, and maybe this guy is leaving town, so that's good. I like that. And then maybe is maybe those are lanterns or something. And then maybe we have that here too. There's the mountings is missing, but we don't care about that too much. Just can bring it at any point. Maybe then there is, what did the sketch tell us again? Sketch said, yeah, there is not too much actually, but could be a light here. And here. And then maybe some illuminated areas are in there. Maybe just like that. Now, no light without just a little bit of a bloom. In this case, we make it really simple. We'll do some. We use some color dodge. There's an exciting one for you. Not like this though. And also not like this. I need that legacy stuff. Oh yeah, like this. That's good. I like that. So let's have this guy. Have something going on here. For this, I'm not sure. Don't need that much. That's fine. This is good. And then in a second we can light some more with that. That's just because it's in the shadow, so you can actually kind of see it. Now, this we use to render the scene. I keep using that. I think that's still viable. Also, spam something to see if we can make that immediately more interesting. Apparently we can't. Yeah, so this is a little bit of a trial and error thing, and of course we don't keep all of that stuff, and sometimes that is just way too much complicated shapes. So I'm looking for something to happen that could be considered a nice little structure, right? So like pretty much like, yeah, I think this is not bad. Maybe this needs because there's perspective. Remember, perspective is so. That means it will be like this. Yeah. And then to make it work up here, we wouldn't have to do something like this, where we select an area first, and then we get structure down, in a brighter way. And maybe it's just, yeah, something like this. Maybe very vague. So there's that. This could be good. I think, yeah, probably is a good idea. And then, well, but we'll see then that it's really not good to have this everywhere. So over here we have to dispose of it, else it will just yeah, do something that was not really intended. And even I think we can tone it down. And we can repeat that process. But yeah, it's not like this is painting the picture for you. That's not what should happen, or yeah, probably not. It just gives illusion of a little bit of detail in some places, I guess, where it could be. I want a little bit of that, I think, here. Let's see what happens with that. This is already something that is extremely optional, of course, and also is a matter of taste. But it can bring you a little bit of a nice little realism, details that stimulate your brain into thinking that there's really more detail than there actually is. Something that I also talk about it sometimes, and it is a thing that great artists can do. They can really create detail where there is not a lot of detail with such techniques. Where is the sketch? Right, so some stuff of the sketch I needed in here. Maybe that's already enough of that. Let's see. No, that was a catastrophic failure. I wonder why. Yeah, is that so hard to get? Okay, so I have this separate, so it's not a big deal. We lock it. We bring it. Right. So, and well, we don't want of that. We make it less pronounced. Something like that. Okay, so not as bad as I thought it would be. and then basically can continue to render some of that detail here. And doing that, we're going really now much more back and forth. You don't need to really decide what to do now. It's just about, do you see what to do? Can you identify what is lacking, and then you bring that up. And so that's then a way of doing something rather quick. Clipping mask is getting on my nerves here, so that means I need a new layer to do stuff that is just beyond that, the boundaries of the clipping mask. So those stuff, and then also here we're making the shape a little bit better. Yeah, why not? Remember, if when in doubt and you don't know exactly what to do, we're on a new layer. We're just experimenting. We're just having fun. And if I really need to, I can go and cut away from the initial layer. But it's not that often that I actually need to do this. It's just I really want to have straight lines here, so that would be then kind of necessary to do. Excuse me if I'm going silent for a bit, but I think that pretty much a lot of the process I already explained, and now it's just about getting some of this just a little bit better, and then we'll be done. Some details, hinting at some details, I think, over here. Sometimes good to break stuff, rearrange, and again, don't expect to always be perfect. No. Sometimes it's just a bad idea what you're doing, and then you should have the courage to try to call yourself out. I think that's a very healthy thing to do. Of course, it's not so easy, but yeah. No, this is not good. I don't like that. Or sometimes you can just, why not tell yourself that no, this was really not a good idea, and light shining from one structure to the other. I think this is a problem. Oh yeah, this is light, this is extra. So yeah, this is not happening in that way that I initially thought it would. So but then maybe that is so, and we can put a bit of light here. Way to make some decisions about smaller detail, and there's no need to overthink this, right? There's so many possibilities in the small detail realm that yeah, you can think about this forever, but will it give you something that is really better immediately? I think it is cultivating what I said earlier, these little accidents that need to happen, that give you something that breaks the, yeah, in some cases just the nothingness, maybe could call it that. This now, you need to be careful. If we do this too much, this will be too pronounced and take away from the sense of scale that all of this has. So yeah, then there's this with the layer option. Don't blend into my ship, man. And then also see the versatility of that smudge tool. I want to say it's pretty insane. Like, that was one blob of glow to start out from. So just remember that. We were here, I think, with the tonally, with that smudge tool. Right, and this is also what it can do. So now, want you to because now we'll do something. This stays extra. This gets combined. So, and people don't like that. They don't. But watch, in 1 second, I will show you something. I just need to address this because I was thinking about it very quickly. I want this to be here. I think this is a clever detail to have. No. That good? No. That is okay. So now what I was getting at is this. Clipping mask this thing with a color dodge of old. These are new options. You switch them off, you get old color dodge. What that means in detail is too much to explain it right now. But now we had a orangey glow because light is coming, remember. Color dodge, not color burn. Does that mean? No, it does not. Right, so see that's something you have to be careful with, but you do that right and it's an insane little detail, or I should say insane form of blending. Don't overdo that. You overdo that and yeah, it's not a good idea. So delete some of that. It's clipping mask, so this does not work. We have to do that over here. More, if we want more. I don't want more. It's enough. Not everywhere. Don't put it everywhere. Also not such a good idea. And then, where are the lights? Here. Okay, so maybe a few more of those. And then, yeah, I need to render ship quickly, then we're done. Pretty much. So, yeah, color dodge, it shifts your hue a lot. So, could be the case that you don't like that to happen. That's why it gives it that artificial lighting appearance. I think maybe one of the only reasons. We're on 50%. I'm such an idiot. Waiting for this to come out much stronger, but it doesn't. So yeah. What did I say just about that little ship? That little ship needs to have something going on, because else it's just, that would be too boring. What did the sketch tell me? Oh yeah, okay, so let's see. Something here, something here. Then yeah, a whole lot of shadow. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. All right, thanks, sketch. So yeah, when in doubt, we're consulting our first thoughts from the sketch. That always makes some sense. Maybe this makes some sense too. Have some lighting on top, some lighting down there, and then it's better. Yeah, it is. That light was separate. That light is too clean. It's better. And then maybe that was too much the entire time. But these now are details. Yeah. I think so. So of course you can have other light. You can have red light. Over here. Maybe we have that. Right, something like that. Little guy in the back here. That's okay for me. And then we could call it a day. And I could also keep working on it, as you can see. Now this, right, still I think we're did this 2.5 hours now. Yeah, I will maybe do this some more and post it. I don't think we'll make another video about this specific piece. This has been, I think, long enough, but yeah, I think we did something in those 2.5 hours that you can see different approach, starting in color, starting with these extreme colors. We had this color palette, which I then strayed away from a little bit, and also we had this ref, which you can see, yeah, it has something to do with it. It's the idea giver of some of the color contrasts, but really not much more than that. So a lot of times I need something to get it started, and then we can really do something something good just by getting something going, and then you all of a sudden you think about, oh, it would be nice if there was a structure, if there was this and there was that, and then you get into stuff, and then you yeah, you progress from there. So of course, yeah, some things I will bring up, because I think it's a nice little piece. I will bring some things up before I would put this into my portfolio for sure, but that will maybe take me another hour or two. You don't need to see that. Maybe another time, or we'll just make another very passive painting video. But you know what, let me know in the comments. You want to see me giving some insane detail to this, or you say, yeah, I've seen enough of this, let's do something else. There is a zoom on there, and yeah, with that, see, I didn't put much detail where my head was the entire time. It even looks like I left it open on purpose, which I promise you I did not do. This is not my idea of composition. Okay, so anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Sorry for sweating on camera, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Let me know if you like it, and let me know if you if this process works for you, if this is something that you think is completely insane, or if you think that, yeah, I can do this. So that's also interesting to hear. So guys, I need to get some fresh air. I surely got lost a little bit in this one. Of course, not by what to do, but it's just that you underestimate the time it takes. And at the end of the day, I figure out more and more that I don't want to be silent for half an hour painting, but maybe that would be a good format. Let me know what you think about that. So also let me know, as I said, in ending the process, if you want to see me putting, maybe we'll make a detail video, put more details on the same image if you like that image at all. Also let me know if your experience with that process. Starting in color, it is a lot harder for a lot of people. So yeah, we used a little crutch, some ref, but as you can see, as always, we make the ref our own, and we direct the image and don't let us get sidetracked by what the ref tells us. So therefore, I think this worked out fine. Let me know if you want to see something like that again. In any case, I'll be doing some more videos soon about creating your own brushes and perspective and lighting and that kind of stuff. So see you later.